Hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back, hopefully. I've had nothing but trouble with my computer for almost a week now. So I took a break over the weekend and took my daughter and her younger cousin to see Addams Family 2. I had, I suppose, high hopes is a bit of a stretch, but I was hoping for more than I got. But I'll get into that in a minute. Um, the sequel this time around follows Morticia and Gomez being distraught that their children are growing up, Wednesday specifically. And to try to reclaim the bond of the family, they decide to go on a road trip and cram into a haunted camper and hit the road for family vacation, which in and of itself doesn't make for a bad story. I don't know about a movie, but a story nonetheless. The fun part is always the Addams family and how they stand out everywhere they go. So putting them in a camper and taking them across country allows them to go to all kinds of different areas and cultures and stick out there and jokes galore. Unfortunately, they don't do that. As they go across the country, they run into different obstacles, and there's an overarching story about whether or not Wednesday is actually an Addams or not. Also, not a terrible story, but one that doesn't make any sense because just looking at the Addams, you can tell Wednesday and Pugsley, they're all related. It's very obvious. But you got to have melodrama these days, even in kids' cartoons. Forgive me for being unprofessional and blasé in this review, but this movie, it inspired nothing from me. Not joy, not hate, just nothing. I feel the Addams Family belongs to a 20-minute TV show runtime. Anything more is just asking too much. For originality or for nostalgia, you can get away with it maybe once, like they did with the original Raul Julia film. Arguably twice. Addams Family Values is generally enjoyed and appreciated by fans of the family. But it's not sustainable. You can't do a lot of these movies because it really was a spoof of the sitcom more than anything, so it really does belong as just a TV show. I liked the first animated film, as a lot of time had passed between the first movie, or not the first movie, the second Raul Julia movie, and the animated film. And the animated film being an origin story was something unique, something that hadn't been told yet. And although I didn't agree with everything in it, I don't personally know that any of it is objectionable, like how Lurch came to be their butler and such, but overall, it was still a fun story. And the sequel, though, well, the first movie, it stretched the limits of what makes a movie length story and what really should be confined to an episode on TV. And the sequel does that even more so. A road trip, you could probably get away with it in a movie, but they don't. It's almost an afterthought in this. It's the plot convenience for the movie, and yet they don't explore it really. And when they do, it's in the most ham-fisted ways. Wednesday not being an Addams is something else that could be confined to a 20-minute story. It's just, and even combining the two, they didn't manage to really make something that made you feel worthy of movie length. Also, one thing that bugs me in this film is that it doesn't seem like anybody involved, the writers, the entire creative team, they don't understand the appeal of the original Addams Family show. The whole part of the theme, they're creepy and they're kooky, but they were more loving and caring and united as a family than the so-called normal people that they were surrounded by. That was the whole point of the Addams Family. So having this story about how Wednesday, even before she finds out she might not be an Addams, the movie starts off with her loathing her family. She has no love at all for her mother or her father. She absolutely hates Pugsley. Now, and Uncle Fester hates him. Now, when you watch the original series, Pugsley and Wednesday got along great. And when you look at that series as well as the two feature length movies, even the back and forth, horrible by normal standards, playing between them was a joke. It was not necessarily a parody, but perhaps a spoof on how siblings, quote unquote, torture each other. And it was played for laughs, but still underlined that they were a loving brother and sister. For her to really hate her family, it undermines the whole point of the Addams family. And I just didn't care for that direction in the story. I felt like it was trying to tap too hard into modern teen angst attitudes and things that honestly Addams family's better off making fun of than actually being. This one, by the end, of course, no spoiler really, but I mean, if you don't see it coming, then you're one of the people in the movie. She, of course, finds out she is an Addams. She learns to accept herself for who she is, accept her family for who they are. Everybody be yourself, accept others, and blah, blah, blah. It's just lazy. I mean, that moral, that message is great, to be sure, but there's no shortage of those stories already. And this is still not the family to tell that story with. This is the family that you tell the story about. Don't judge people by what they look like, and so forth and so on. That's how you do Addams Family. So they never had that issue, and shoehorning it in now ruins the whole point of them for me. And it just again proves that it requires more creativity and intelligence to turn the show, or even the single panel cartoon it was originally, into a feature-length film. Requires more creativity and intelligence than anyone involved had. I will say that the cast is they all do a great job as usual. My thing is taking a second to load here. I just wanted to read them off. Oscar Isaac as Gomez Addams. I actually keep forgetting that that's Oscar Isaac. He does such a good job with the accent and everything. Charlize Theron as Morticia Addams. I actually wouldn't mind seeing her in a black wig or dyeing her hair black and playing a live action Morticia. Chloe Grace, I want to say Moretz as Wednesday. She has the voice, but I don't know. Her Wednesday's lousy. She was okay in the first movie, but she's just not where Christina Ricci was in the others, or the young kid from the original series. They have a new actor doing Pugsley. He might have been in a couple things. I don't really recognize him. He does a fine job as Pugsley. Nick Kroll, I'm not a fan of pretty much at all. But he does do a good job as Uncle Fester. Although Uncle Fester isn't really lovable in these. He's just adult. They bring back Cousin It, because you gotta have Cousin It. Still voiced by Snoop Dogg. Although this time you'd know it. In the first movie, you wouldn't. But in this one, he has a couple funny moments where you know it's him. And of course, they play Snoop Dogg songs whenever he's on the screen. Bette Midler is back as Grandma. And it interests me, between the two movies, they have like 4 versions of the Addams Family song. And none of them are sung by Bette Midler. Why have Bette Midler in it, aside from the fact that she's very funny? I love Bette Midler. And not get her to sing a version of the Addams Family theme. I don't understand that part. But she's great as Grandma. Lurch, always great. And so this time you have a new character named Cyrus Strange, who is sure that Wednesday is his long-lost daughter. That there was a switch-up at the hospital, and he's voiced by Bill Hader, who does a decent enough job. And then always welcome to any movie, animated or not, is Wallace Shawn as Mr. Mustela, who's the lawyer trying to get everything sorted out for him. And as well as a new character, Big Bad Ronnie. And they really do. They do good voice acting with a better story. Better writing, better humor. It actually might have been an enjoyable film. On a personal note, the younger kid, she liked it a lot. My daughter's a bit older. She thought it was okay, and I was mostly bored. I mostly was hoping for it to end. There's a lot of potty humor, like literally specifically poop jokes in the movie that I don't know. I guess sometimes some kids laugh at that, and some adults do too. But for me, it gets old real fast, especially the more of them there are. So that's it. Uh, Not an totally in depth review, but it's not a real in depth movie. Probably if you have little ones, you might take them to see it, or when it comes out, you might rent it or stream it or whatever. And not the worst thing in the world to watch, but as an Addams family fan, me and my daughter, we prefer to watch the old series. And even though it's black and white, she still enjoys watching it. So I recommend that one really more than anything. Uh, so that's it. Thank you for listening, and hopefully these start working and I can start getting them out on my channel. Thank you.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.